Previously on Bat Minute. Kung Fu chicanery in a Gotham laboratory. Heroes in a half-shell hasten to help. The Bat catches the scent of these amphibious adolescents. A sinister samurai summit sees the demon's head meeting the head of the Foot. Could the malevolent machinations of this meetup mean mutation-based misery for Gotham? Or can a team-up of teenage turtles and a Dark Knight detective turn the tables? Find out right now!
He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who just rhyme. It's Bat
Minute! Speaking of being a child, friggin' Robin shows up. They never explicitly say, but I think it's supposed to be Damien, this version of Robin.
No, well, it does mention being... Doesn't he say dad at one point?
Yeah, he calls Batman father.
Yeah. Because you could have like a really brainwashed version of Dick Grayson where he's like, yes, I am your father, doing the Hannibal phototherapy thing where he's like convinced him, yeah, I'm your dad, kid. What's the matter with you? But
and it does also briefly kind of reference one of the Robins being dead.
That's right, yeah.
What was the exact line? It's something... I can't remember the line, but yeah, it basically comes up that
something like another risk another person falling or something like that.
Because they're talking about like a child dying at the time.
Yeah. This Damian Wayne, voiced by a guy called Ben Giroux, and he was the only notable thing. He's done loads of work, but it's mostly like Nickelodeon, like very recent Nickelodeon stuff and Disney Channel stuff. But he was in something called Abner, the Invisible Dog. Which I was like, sounds like gold to me. An invisible dog. I took a screenshot of the plot synopsis because I was like, oh my god, this sounds awful. I love it so much.
See, I didn't realize it was this guy. I thought it was the guy who does Dean Venture. Whose name I can't remember.
He did, he was Leonardo in the 2003 series.
That's why I thought maybe that was him.
And Leonardo in this one is the, again, incomparable Eric Bauza.
Yeah.
He's this generation's Mel Blanc.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
I think it's again because he's the go-to Daffy Duck now as well. Like he's
and Bugs Bunny and a handful of other Looney Tunes characters.
He's like did Luke Skywalker. He's like the Lego Luke Skywalker.
Oh.
He did Tiger Claw in the TMNT 2012 series. He was Splinter in Rise. So it must be weird for these guys. It's like, you do Splinter this week. You can do Leonardo next week. Like,
yeah.
But of course, the plot summary for Abner the Invisible Dog here is it's Chet Shepard's birthday, and he's in for a big surprise. His best friend Abner, a big furry sheepdog, can suddenly vanish into thin air. And can talk, too.
Whoa!
But Chad already has enough problems fighting off two bullies who want to wreck his chances with the girl next door. With the parents out of the house, Chad and Abner have to fight off the bad guys, get the girl, and save the day. It's like, oh my god, this sounds like gold! But they have two characters called Chad and Abner. Like, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You're just throwing darts at a dartboard full of cartoon tropes at that point.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to run into guys called Donatello and Michelangelo than a Chad and an Abner.
I've only ever heard Abner once, and that was Abner Ravenwood.
I think the last time I heard it was in some old-timey Victorian movie. And I don't remember which one.
But to round off, actually, the Turtles cast, while we're here, talking about like Eric Bauza and whatnot, Michelangelo is actually voiced by Kyle Mooney, who I believe is an SNL guy now. Like, he's one of the faces of SNL. He's also in excellent movie they co-wrote called Brigsby Bear. Came out a couple of years ago, and it's about a guy who he plays who has been raised underground in a kind of, in a subterranean lair by Mark Hamill. Weirdly enough.
Oh, yeah. I heard this on a podcast and it sounded amazing.
Oh, it's a great movie. And basically, Mark Hamill's told him that the world has ended and the only form of entertainment, like you can't go outside, and the only form of entertainment is a show called Brigsby Bear that Mark Hamill himself has made. And then eventually the guy finds out the world hasn't ended, and he goes outside. But he becomes obsessed then with like, I never saw the end of Brigsby Bear, so I'm going to make my own episode to finish off the series and stuff. And he still views Mark Hamill as his dad. Like Mark Hamill's in prison and he goes to visit him, and he's still just like, oh Dad, how are you? And he's like, don't you get it, kid? I friggin' abducted you for Christ's sake.
Stupid child.
And then Donatello is voiced by a guy called Baron Vaughn, who is in BoJack. He was in the Black Dynamite movie. Grace and Frankie, and most notably, he is the new Tom Servo in Mystery Science Theater 3000. So.
See, I weirdly know him most from Grace and Frankie, and then when he turned up in Mystery Science Theater, I was like, oh my god, it's him!
Now he is he's voicing your turtle of choice, too.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can be a Baron Vaughn guy.
I love him.
So we get a lot of great little interactions with the Batman, the Turtles, like Donnie pointing out his security problems, and then Batman just kind of glaring at him, and Donnie's head sinking into his shell and stuff. And
oh, I love it anytime they pop into their shell in this, which happens multiple times. It's great every time. Never gets old.
Yeah.
Even makes a little noise when they pop back out. Boop.
Because at one point they flat out go entirely into the shells.
Yeah.
Which is weird with the Turtles, because it's like, oh yeah, because then you realize how much of their actual bodies you see. And how small those shells are.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that makes sense for actual turtles because their limbs are small, but those are like full-size limbs going into that little shell.
Yeah, they don't have giant, like, muscular action figure limbs to try to just hide away.
Yeah.
Maybe they're very foldable, though. You know, like cats, when they can just make their paws disappear when they sit down. They can just fold inside a little bit.
Or it's bigger on the inside. Like you go in there and there's a whole living room set up with a couch and a TV.
Oh my god, yes.
Like a Looney Tunes turtle?
Yeah.
We need to see this.
Yeah, so then we get the team has been formed, basically. Turtles and Batman are now a functioning unit.
It's got to be to take down that supervillain team.
Yeah, along with Robin and Batgirl. We'll say, and we'll be talking a lot about Batgirl next season, obviously, but you actually get to see it here. Batgirl has been illustrated to be more like a kind of modern day Batgirl, like in the current run, which is a costume I kind of both love and hate, because I love the tunic. Like she's got, it basically looks like she's wearing like a leather tunic or something, and she's just got. It looks like Barbara Gordon's made her own outfit. Basically, it's like yellow Doc Martens, a cape that she's sort of sewn on to the shoulders, and kind of tunic army jacket kind of thing. But then I hate the cowl. I hate that cowl so much because like why are her ears showing? It doesn't make any sense. Like she's got the bad ears, and then she's got her own ears unprotected.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either.
She's got two sets of ears.
Yeah. That's just, I don't like it. It's like great work on the suit. Cowl is a whole mess to me. And it's just like, it's not even providing much protection. Like, and why would you want your ears exposed as well? It's like, well, surely the whole thing, but you can hook up radios and stuff.
Oh, don't ruin it. I loved it at first. That's ruining it. Because I was really into the shoes, like the boots that she wears, because she's got like skinny legs, but giant feet. Because they're in massive sort of combat boots. It looked amazing. It was a cool combat.
But we'll get the Batgirl fashion late into the next season, actually, by the time she shows up in her suit. But yeah. But yeah, of course, so now Arkham. Good old Arkham Asylum is making an appearance here. As we said, like, yeah, there's some vicious murders as Shredder and Ra's al Ghul make their way through.
Just stabbing people. Don't they cut an arm off at some point? You don't see it, but you see the arm.
Well, they stabbed the guy through the back. Like, you flat out see the Shredder's things. Like, his shirt goes up to show you that the blades have come the entire way through. And the guy's got a friggin' world's best dad mug. And you're just like, oh, dear
That's
God.
the dark bit, yeah.
Oh my God, that guy had a family.
It really upset me, actually. I was like, oh no. At least make them kind of nameless and faceless.
The insurance policy on any employee of either Wayne Enterprises or Arkham Asylum must be through the roof.
Oh, God, yeah.
The payouts these companies have to make to the families, it's astronomical.
It's amazing they're still in business.
Yeah.
It made me think of Austin Powers, where it's got that whole scene where the goon gets killed by Austin. And then it cuts to like his family, and they don't know where he is. And then he's having a bachelor party, and they're like, "Where is he?"
That's what he is. Rob Lowe is having to deliver the news to his friends, and you're like, if you watch those movies out of order, you're like, number 2? What the hell are you doing here? But actually, another thing, and for people, because this will be on the main feed, for people who haven't heard me and John's coverage of The Long Halloween, one of my bugbears comes up now as they're going through Arkham Asylum, because we see all the various supervillains, and for some reason, Two-Face has got his coin in the cell with him, and like we bemoaned things like that, and it's like, why would you let the guy have, for the purposes of his therapy, you wouldn't put the coin in the, and they find a freaking Scarecrow sitting there with his mask on. I was like, why has he got the mask on? Bane's got his mask on. Mr. Freeze I could understand because it's a survival thing, but like
Poison Ivy's got a plant.
Yeah. You'd be like, no, we need to take these things away from them. It's not helping.
Yeah. And then by the time they bust out, all their stuff's on them already. So I guess they just got like, the evidence locker down the road. It's just got like all of Joker's suits and all his all his gizmos and stuff are right there for you.
It did kind of bother me that they're in these cells and there's no bed or like toilet or anything. Like, I know these are terrible people and they've done terrible things, but isn't it a little cruel and unusual to have just nothing?
It is, and it's not
they're allowed
accurate.
to dress like scarecrows, but they can't have a bed.
Yeah.
Like, I work in a mental health hospital, and I don't work in the high secure bit, which we do have. But if people are in there, they're like murderers and things like this. And they tend to get, how do I word this right? Certain luxuries, which other people don't. Basically because they're there forever. They're never leaving. They're never getting out. They're mentally ill. So it would be cruel and unusual to just lock them in a room with nothing. That's not what we do. It's not right, really.
Well, that would seem like a detriment to their therapy, or
yes, and they might never be okay to leave, but you want to do your best to try and help them how you can.
Right.
So yeah.
Actually, again though, they bring up once again. Rewatched Hannibal quite recently. Of course, in season 3, there is a bit where they flat out remove his toilet from his cell.
Just to annoy him, though.
Yeah. And but in season 2, Will Graham, he's in the asylum, and it's like every time you see him, he's just sitting on his bed staring at the wall because that's all he's got. It's like, you gotta give these people some form of entertainment. Like, Jesus Christ, this is just, you're essentially confining the mentally insane to solitary confinement by default because they don't have anything else.
Yeah, you're just incubating their insanity at that point.
Yeah, that's nuts. It's crazier than they are. But I do also love Harley's introduction. You can almost see the joke coming, but like she's like calling Shredder over and just like, "I'll come a little closer."
Oh, I was waiting for that. Yeah,
and she just wanted to check her makeup in his in his mask and stuff. I think he knows it's coming. I think he's got a vibe like, oh god, like it's gonna be something irritating at least.
He knows. Yeah, he senses what we're sensing. Like, oh Jesus Christ, and we all know what they're there to do. That was my only complaint initially was like, oh, they're not going to go and like try and free the Joker, are they? That's too obvious. That's why they're there.
I think that's the thing. Is like they've got a thing of. We might only get one shot at doing this crossover. Yeah. So you gotta bring out the big guns, and it's an unfortunate thing now where like every time Batman features in something, we better throw the Joker in too. It's like there's more villains than that.
I'm so sick of the Joker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I get it. He's like one of my favorites ever, but yeah, cool it for a while.
I think that's my thing with like Matt Reeves' Batman coming out. It's like not for at least another 8 to 10 years. I want to be like Batman 4. That's when I want the Joker showing up because it's like I'm done with that character. I've seen him far too much. It's like it was always great in the animated series because he'd show up for one episode and then you wouldn't see him for like 16 episodes.
Yeah.
And by the time it came back, we'd be like, hey, the Joker's back. But now it is like a default thing. It's like, no, you got to, at any given time in the comics, the Joker he'll be the main villain for at least one issue of one of the big comics that's out every month, basically.
Yeah, no, I'm the same as you. The one thing that saves it, though, is that this Joker is so cool. Like, his introduction and everything, where you just see his mouth and the lighting on it, it's awesome. So it kind of, you quickly get over it and go, oh, okay, fair enough. They're doing him right, at least.
Yeah. Of course, then we get the great little scene of Alfred being delivered a giant Scooby Snack-esque group of pizzas to the front door.
Oh, I love the revelation that the turtles rejected Alfred's nice cuisine. They're like, no, we just want pizzas. Bring pizzas.
I just love as well, like what the woman saying, like, oh, do you need the delivery woman saying, do you need a hand with that? And Alfred been like, young lady, there's no amount of greasy cheese bread that could surpass me.
Amazing.
I will say, as I alluded to earlier, Batman and Alfred in this, they're both kind of assholes. And Damian Wayne, actually. Well, Damian Wayne is an asshole in general, but in the comics of this, Batman was much nicer. I think that they took it in, James Tynion, when he was writing it, as like, Batman at this point has raised several teenagers, basically. And these are teenagers. So he knows how to talk to them whenever they're disappointed or devastated with themselves. He knows what to say to reassure them. He's very, very patient with the Turtles. He's a really nice guy. Like, he's still dark and brooding, but he's a very compassionate kind of fella. And like, particularly in the second one too, when like Donatello blames himself for everything that happened, and Batman's always there to be like, it's not your fault. Let me tell you, I know something about blame and guilt and stuff like that. And even when, like, in that first comic run, Raphael hates Batman. He's just a rich asshole with too much time in his hands. And Batman, instead of like being aggressive with him, he's just like, let me tell you something. And brings him out to crime out. And he's like, I know you don't like me, but let me tell you exactly what my deal is and stuff. And he's a really nice guy. Loves Splinter, very respectful of Splinter and stuff. And yet, in this version, they're like, everyone knows Batman's an asshole. So we'll just make him an asshole the entire way through.
Well, they do all start kind of pairing off in groups that make sense as well, though, because Batman and Leonardo pair off, and they're training. Of course, those two are training together. But you've got, like, Barbara and Donatello, who it kind of implies they've got, like, a little thing going on.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And I love the way that kind of, once they all pair off, it leaves Mikey with nobody but Alfred. That's their pair.
Yeah. The dream team, quite frankly. I would just watch a flat-out sitcom about, like, Batman's snooty butler and Michelangelo.
Hell yeah.
I'd like to see a day in the life of Alfred. Like, what does he do all day?
Well, it's like in Fresh Prince with Will and Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is actually. Yeah, it is kind of another early 90s throwback. It's like Michelangelo showing up in like one of those like really multicolored caps and just wearing like the suit jacket with the bow tie over his t-shirt. It's like, hey.
Yeah, with the hat rim popped up. Yeah, man.
Oh, and in this scene as well, they've made anti-ooze because the plan of the villains is to put the ooze in, what do they call it? There's the cloud cedar.
Yeah.
Which is essentially like, let's put chemtrails in the sky.
It's the thing is, like, again, because they've got people from video games working on it, the cloud cedar thing is like the cloud burst in Arkham Knight, which is a big plot point of that game. And then when they get to Ace Chemicals later, it's like, that looks like Ace Chemicals from Arkham Knight. So I think they're really like, they're just cherry picking things from like, yep, I like that version of that character. They might as well, they could have called it Axis Chemicals. They're like, yeah, I prefer Axis Chemicals to Ace Chemicals.
Oh, yes.
So we're swiping that sign from the 89 movie. Why not? Who's going to stop us?
Do it.
I love the relationship between Donatello and Barbara because they never push it. I was always slightly worried like he's not going to try to make a move on her and it's going to get really awkward, but he's always very respectful, I found. So it's like, oh, I hope these two would hook up. It would become a thing, the Donatello.
Weirdly, yeah, you're fine with it, aren't you?
And they just have good chemistry too, because the respectful, but also like, Donatello joking around, calling like, oh, we call it ooze, and Barbara just like, I'm not calling it that. And every time, then it's like, oh, so it's like the anti-ooze, like retro mutagen, just refusing to acknowledge what he's saying and stuff.
And they both really like the color purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pair off the two purple ones.
Here's a question, actually, and now we've got experts in the Turtles here, because this one I couldn't find any information on it, but I was like, it must be, because Leonardo does explain that weird magic punch that Shredder did, and it goes into
the Kill Bill move.
Yeah, the 5-point palm technique. But it cuts to like it's like one of those old sort of like Chinese puppetry kind of the way they present the animation of the flashback of like, oh, this is how the Foot Clan came to be, and this is how Shredder and Splinter know each other and stuff like that. But there's a pose where it looks like a video game, like it's done in that like this is like Chinese paper puppets.
Yeah.
But they look like, and I was convinced. I was like, does any of you guys know, particularly the pose that Shredder's in? Is that from like one of the old Turtles games? And they just
I
took
think I missed that.
Yeah, I think we were in the middle of a text conversation or something.
But if you go into, it's like minute 35. I got it up on my screen at the minute of the movie. There's just a little bit, and it looks like Street Fighter, basically. But just the pose that they have Shredder in, and Splinter, to be fair, it looks like, yeah, this is what he used to look like in one of the old games from the early 90s. So we brought it back, and here it is. It's not 8-bit, but it's, friggin', it's, paper animation or whatever. But
it's entirely possible.
Yeah, if it is, again, hats off. Nice little touch there.
I do like that shift in the animation style when they go to the flashback, because that's kind of a callback to the 2012 animated series, where anytime they did kind of a callback or a flashback, it would switch to a 2D animation style. So that's kind of a neat little call.
But anyway, well, we do have a nice little scene of Jim Gordon meeting the turtles here, and I always love exasperated Gordon when he's just like, okay, giant turtles, all right, this is this is the world I live in now, basically, and again, I love they all do the little disappear act, and then he's just like, they always do that, and then right behind him, Michelangelo's like, I'm still here.
That whole scene just cracked me up. Gordon's just like,
should be noted as well that actually the guy voicing Gordon also voices the Scarecrow, and this is Jim Meskimen, and he features in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, starring Jim Carrey, which I don't know, John, we might be talking about that movie at some point in the next month or so. But weirdly, he plays a lot of politicians. He played JFK in Superman Red Son, which we were supposed to review a long time ago. We better get around that sometime, actually.
Did we not review it?
No.
Why did I watch it then?
It was in the middle. It was at the beginning of all the pandemic. It was things were just all over the place. We meant to record it, and we just never did.
I thought we did.
But apparently he's played George Bush in Good Omens. He's played Clinton and Obama in animated stuff. So whoever this guy is, just like, if you needed a recent American politician, a recent American president, Jim Meskimen is your man. He was in the 2012 Turtles show as well. So
that's some talent to not only do Bush but also Obama.
Yeah,
or did you say Clinton?
And Clinton.
Yeah.
Obama, Clinton, Bush, and
Those are
JFK.
3 very different voices.
You just know now he's sitting watching Biden. It's like, okay, well, we got to work with here.
Yeah.
Like,
got to work on my Biden.
Yeah. Because Jim Carrey, actually, now that he is the SNL's Biden, he'd be like, oh, Christ, I got like 4 guaranteed years of work. This is great.
Yeah. Well, that's what Maya Rudolph tweeted when Kamala Harris was selected as VP. She's like,
yeah,
I got my work cut out for me. Uh-oh.
I did see, though, because SNL is not a big thing over here, but I understand Carrie's Biden didn't go down well for some reason.
I haven't watched SNL in probably 15 years, so I don't know. I don't know what the reception was. I kind of didn't pay attention.
I had a good laugh at one point. Jim Carrey was going on about boycotting NBC because they were doing that town hall with Trump, and I was like, wait, aren't you on SNL? Is that a different NBC? Like,
aren't they the one that's paying you right now?
Aren't you getting a big fat check from these guys you're talking about boycotting?
Maybe it's like The Simpsons, the way they always made fun of Fox.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
So the clout The Simpsons, I guess, still has it with Fox. Because I think it is just, with them, it was like, oh, go ahead and cancel us. Like, we dare you.
Yeah.
You're going to cancel your cash cow? No goddamn way is The Simpsons going anywhere.
I don't know, maybe now.
No? I don't know. Well, I think it still gets like really good ratings. So it's people
for some reason.
Oh, yeah. I have not watched a new episode in years.
No.
It's just a different show now.
Yeah.
It's so different.
I watched the most recent, not this year's, it was last year's, Treehouse of Horror. And that was weird.
Yeah.
I watched it on Halloween, and I don't know if I liked it.
What one was it? What was the pitch?
Homer starts eating his own body.
Ew.
He's a cannibal, and that's like one of the main episodes. So he gets addicted to eating himself. So he eats his fingers, then his arms and his leg. He's just a torso. He ends up leaving a suicide note and getting a famous chef to cook what's left of him to death.
Ew.
And feed it to everyone. It's weird. I was like, oh, okay.
It does kind of sound like we're out. We're out of ideas.
Yeah, it's like please cancel us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that is now. Like, back in the day, they're like, "Oh, go ahead and cancel us." Fox now is like, "Please, please cancel us."
It's been bad longer than it was good.
Yes,
That's the upsetting thing when you realize that. Yeah.
Oh.
But
What I've just realized is that we're an hour and a half into recording, and we're only about 40 minutes into the movie, so we better tear on, I guess.
let's tear through. So
That happens when we're around.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We derail things quite a bit.
we're known for this too. Don't worry. It's a bad mix or a good mix.
Can we just pause real quick? I need to get some more water.
Oh,
Yeah,
no problem.
no worries.
I'll be
Go
right
ahead.
back.
Oh.
And we'll try and blitz through.
We'll also say other little things I liked, because again, I just loved everything about this, but I do love little bits of the turtles eating pizza in the Batcave, and Batman sort of like refusing to eat any pizza. And then at one point, like, Batgirl's talking to him, and he's just like, "Are you eating pizza?" And she's like, "No." And just blatantly scarfing down the stuff with the rest of them.
Yeah, because I never imagined Batman to eat pizza, and I think that's the big thing at the end. He actually does eat the pizza. In my mind, he just eats spoonfuls of protein powder.
As we got in the show, fish oil. Batman and fish oil is a big thing.
Gross.
That's weird at the end of this, though, when he eats the pizza, because the way he folds it. Like, he holds up the slice and then he uses he loses his index finger to fold it. Like, so it's even more of a triangle.
That's the proper Italian way.
That's the way. That's the New York way.
Ah, okay. That's definitely what they do in, I think, Napoli.
Huh.
Is you fold. That's why the pizzas are really slim in that. You fold them over.
Is it like it's supposed to enhance things, or is it less messy?
Less messy and stuff. And I started doing it recently. If I get like an Italian pizza, I was like, I'll try it then, because I saw an Italian chef do it on TV. So I started doing it, and I was like, oh, it's actually like better. Like, it's really good. I do it all the time now.
Again, though, like oh, so that'd be the fancy, like that's a fancy official way to do it. So, Mads Mikkelsen's Hannibal he'd totally be folding that pizza. Like that's gonna. Now there's more reason for season 4 than ever. How does Hannibal eat pizza?
with people on it.
Oh my god! Actually, would he be someone like Alfred, who in this at the end uses a knife and fork?
I don't know. I think he would be like, no, this is the official way. Did you do it? And he would know the origins of pizza, and he'd explain it to Will Graham.
He's eating it with a knife and fork at the end.
Alfred is, yeah.
I would talk about like if Mads Mikkelsen's Hannibal was eating the pizza, though.
I'm getting lost.
And remember when was it David Cameron, our former Prime Minister, Niall, when everyone was making fun of him because he ate like a hot dog with a knife and fork? Of course he did. He's a posh, rich arsehole. Of course he eats it with a knife and fork.
This is just a shame it wasn't a couple of years later, because like now that would instantly be. People would make the memes of Mr. Pitt and Seinfeld eating the Snickers with a knife and fork and put David Cameron in. But it was a little bit before like the Seinfeld meme craze came along.
I was in a lunch meeting at work a while back. This is a little while before quarantine, and someone brought sandwiches. And I was glaring at my one coworker who was eating a sandwich with a knife and fork.
Oh, come on.
Like I just wanted to jump across the table.
What kind of was it? Like just 2 slices of bread, or was it like a baguette? What kind of sandwich was it?
It was like a ciabatta bread sandwich. Like
that seems like you're making more work for yourself. 'Cause that bread's tough. That's gonna be like
what kind of lunatic asshole?
I mean, people tease me because I will cut a burger in half sometimes, but like,
well, that's at least. I don't do it, but I get why people do it, especially nowadays that burgers are like the size of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't fit that goddamn thing in your mouth.
Right.
But it's funny because I'm a quality assurance tester, and he's one of our developers. We're a software company, and I remember nudging a friend of mine next to me, like, if I ever have to test his software, I'm going to have to really go deep.
Yeah.
Because this guy doesn't know how to be a human being.
Oh, my God.
We find out that he's actually like, he's always wearing a trench coat and a hat, to find that he is a turtle in disguise.
Or he's got like a Krang brain in his belly.
He just doesn't know how to eat a sandwich.
Oh, well, speaking of Krang, as in villains, so Joker, he's been freed, as we say, and he frees the other villains and starts doling out the ooze to them, like to supercharge them and turn them into monsters. And let me say, every monster they turn into, amazing.
Yeah.
Scarecrow is just bloody fantastic.
Mm.
He's a crow.
Yeah.
That's what the deal with the mutagen is, where it's like it'll be something the Scarecrow turned into like a penguin by mistake. It's like, I'm not a penguin, I'm the Scarecrow. It's like it randomly you don't get to be just because you like scarecrows doesn't mean the mutagen is going to turn you into a scarecrow. It's going to turn you into whatever it wants.
I have a theory that the TCRI mutagen turns you into your true fursona.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
Well, that is a good question.
because Harley became a hyena.
Mm-hmm.
The Joker became a snake. Two-Face became two cats.
Yeah, well, whatever that.
Bane turned into what? A cheetah?
Yeah.
Some sort of big cat. Yeah, a cheetah, something like that.
In the comic, he turns into a elephant, which I guess is like more appropriate, I guess. But
No, I think a big cat works. They're fighters. They're tough. That makes sense.
we'll say too that's we were saying about the Joker's smile being good when he's introduced. John, I love when they do his transformation, and he has him cackling away, and then the light fades out, so nothing but it's just a black screen and a smile, and then the cheeks rip up into the snake's smile.
Did you know that he was a snake? Because up until you saw him properly, I didn't know. I thought, right, I saw that happen with the fangs come out, and I was like, oh, he's going to turn into a vampire bat.
Yeah, I forgot that he turned into a snake. I thought he was going to turn into a bat, which would be poetic.
That's what I thought they were going for. Yeah,
that would I actually would have preferred that as a kind of like that'd be a nice little. The Joker turns into a bat, like it's as a kind of mocking thing to Batman. And if it is turning people into their true persona, that's showing you how obsessed with Batman he is. Is that the animal he turns into?
Yeah. And it's got to be something like that, right? Because Lol brought this up, right? She hates pigeons. She hates them. They're the most loathed animal in the world.
Yeah,
and there's a goon in this who turns into a pigeon.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Why would you choose to turn into that? What a stupid load of nonsense!" And I kind of agree. I'm like, you wouldn't pick a pigeon. You'd at least pick like a hawk.
It is weird because like one guy's a pigeon, and if it's randomly assigned, it's like, well, tough luck, buddy. You're a pigeon. And that guy turns into a freaking dinosaur. It's like, holy crap, what the hell is he on?
That's what was in his heart. He just wanted to be a dinosaur, like most little boys.
There's a side character in Turtles named Pigeon Pete, who's just this like idiot pigeon, and he's just like one of my favorite characters. So when this goon showed up as a pigeon, I was like, oh my god, is that Pigeon Pete? And then he's just like, they just kill him, and it's like, oh, I hope it wasn't Pigeon Pete.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, pigeons are the worst. They eat garbage. They don't contribute anything to society.
They just annoy you in general. Oh, jeez. Something else I liked with this as well was the Scarecrow hits Leo with the fear gas.
Yeah, and they don't hold back.
His vision is horrible, isn't it? He sees all the other turtles like pecked to death.
It's really wizened skeletons. And it's just like, this is like, they ain't messing around with this cartoon. They're going in for like Scarecrow. Like this is like could be. Well, later on, Leo is still kind of freaked out by it. So it's like it could be long-lasting psychological damage of believing you saw your brothers get pecked to death.
Hey, not as much psychological damage as I suffered starting to read The Last Ronin.
Oh man, that book is heavy.
I've only read the first one, but I was in tears.
That's it. I was going to say James Tynion was on that too, but like, no, it's not him. I was like, oh, any good comic that's out at the minute, that must be him. But
I've got it here somewhere, but I don't know.
That was one though. At the end, when they revealed who that turtle was, I was just like, called it. It was because it was just like, who was it least likely to be?
Yeah,
and then it's like, oh yeah, so of course it was him. But anyway,
I was kind of hoping they were just never going to tell us who it was.
That would be cool.
Like Mandalorian turtle kind of thing. It's like, who is this? Who is this mysterious turtle?
Yeah, because he's not really like, because of everything that's happened, he's not acting like himself, the character that we know. So you could have just kept it vague.
Yeah, it would have been bold, but it unfortunately doesn't sell comics.
No. I'm sure they'll work with the rest of the story, though. Maybe they got something up their sleeve. But yeah, so we have this, great old, really cool fight between mutated Batman's Rogue Gallery and Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and I loved it when Raph and Mikey were fighting Mr. Freeze. Because, and Robin, because Freeze hits Robin, and one of them says, "Hey, creature, leave that kid alone."
Oh, yeah.
That's a Pink Floyd reference, right? Like, hey,
totally.
teacher, leave those kids alone.
I did not catch that. That's brilliant.
But yeah, Mr. Freeze turns into a polar bear.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So perfect.
It would have been funny if he turned into a penguin.
Oh God, yes.
They missed an opportunity to turn the penguin into a penguin. Although maybe the penguin's persona is something else. He doesn't
Something that
see,
likes the heat.
It's like a butterfly.
Yeah, he doesn't see himself as a penguin. He sees himself
wants
as
to
like a
escape that.
squirrel or something.
That would be a
Yes.
good, if you're going for gritty realistic, though, with the Matt Reeves Batman movies. It's like, Penguin's just an ordinary guy, but his persona is a penguin. And that leaks out amongst the gangster community. And like, it's the penguin.
He's got sketchbooks full of him, of his drawings, of him as a penguin.
It's weird to me that when we transform all of the rogues gallery into these monsters, they're all like into it. Like, oh man, I'm so glad that I'm a snake now, or like, at last I'm this hyena. But it's like, man, like that would be a very difficult life to adjust to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If it happened to you, where you just, again, like the Jeff Goldblum Fly movie, realizing you're mutating into something else, you would be friggin' terrified.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing ever. Like maybe they could have done it like at first they think it's cool and then they realize all the drawbacks. Is that getting a bit too deep for a cartoon? I don't know.
I guess they're like, we only got 90 minutes. So
They're also criminally insane, so who knows?
True.
But we've
true.
already established that that Harley Quinn cares about her appearance.
Yeah. Now she's got
That's
these
a good
big
point.
old hyena teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless she just thinks hyenas are beautiful. So she's like, yeah.
Maybe.
She has fur babies as hyenas, so she's like, yeah, I am one of it, kind of thing.
I love as well, you get Bane trying to break Donatello's back, but he can't because of the shell.
It's just like, and there's a couple of weird sort of little throwback things in here. They got Mikey fighting Mr. Freeze, and again I love that he's just so like, he's got a freeze gun, this is amazing. But he's deflecting the freeze blocks with his nunchucks, and it looks very much again like the opening of the cartoon.
Yeah.
And I was like, nice little throwback there. There was another line of dialogue too that was like a direct reference to something. I'm trying to remember what it was now. It's at the end when they defeat Mr. Freeze. I just love the way then, I think it's Mikey's going like, hey, Freeze, if you can't stand the heat, because they're standing in a kitchen. I think Batgirl's like, please don't. It's like, stay out of the kitchen. Like, oh, for God's sake.
Oh, I love all of that. And we haven't even mentioned Ivy. The way Ivy has kind of turned into a giant plant/tree monster. She looks like she's one of the villains from Troll 2. But she's rooted. She can't attack them properly. She can't reach her.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that's what was happening or if she was stuck, but yeah, I guess she was rooted to the floor.
Yeah, there you go. There's a downside. There it is backfiring. She knows.
I would have loved though they threw in a little reference of like, oh, Ivy's mutated into a plant. Oh my god!
It would have been funny if it was like a cute little house plant.
Yeah,
just like a ficus or something.
This is just turning into happening. Now Mark Wahlberg coming over and talking to this ivy plant. Oh, no, it's plastic.
Mark Wahlberg confusedly staring at things.
I remember when I watched The Happening, I was like, this is like the greatest comedy that's ever been made. It was like, that bit was like knocking the door and singing to the people and stuff. Like, how could anyone have thought that this was a good idea?
There's a theory that that movie is just M. Night Shyamalan trolling everybody. Like, he knows it's a joke.
Like he was just fulfilling a contract obligation.
Or that.
Well, let me say, I like the plot. I just think the execution is bad.
Yeah.
I like the planet taking revenge on humans. That's cool.
I would have much more respect for it if it was. If M. Night came out and was like, yeah, that was just me messing around with you. Of course I knew it was stupid. But anyway, at one point then, we do get, again, pretty like hardcore scene of... Eventually, the Batman gets stuck in Mr. Freeze's ray, and the Joker gets the drop on him, injects Batman with the mutagen, and he flat out turns into like a big friggin' bat monster stuff.
Man-Bat,
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's flying around and beating the crap out of the turtles then as a vicious monster.
Oh, and that's after, of course, we get Joker and Harley having their very sexy kiss.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a lot of tongue.
That was unnecessary.
Yeah.
But no, I'm surprised they didn't make a joke about Batman becoming Man-Bat. I thought Mikey was going to be like, it's like a Man-Bat.
Yeah. And that's one of the, I remember there's like if you watch Teen Titans Go to the movies, they bring up that Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson in that. And because it's so meta, that movie, you're just waiting for them to make a Deadpool joke and be like, what, like Wade Wilson from Deadpool? And the fact that they don't do it and they keep calling him Slade the whole time, it's like, it's right there. Just make the joke. Just make it, for Christ's sake. But I don't know if that's a contractual thing. It's like Marvel would never allow that. They'll allow you to have a Stan Lee cameo in it because like that's all in good fun. But you can't mention that Wade Wilson is just a ripoff of a Deathstroke. Yeah, I don't know if that was, but maybe then they're like, no, it's too much to say.
Oh, I'd have loved it.
Well, that's the thing. Is Man-Bat, is Kirk Langstrom in Arkham Asylum? If you injected him with the mutagen, would he just turn back into Kirk Langstrom?
Oh, what would happen?
Yeah.
Sequel time, people. Come
Or
on.
he would turn into two bats.
My God.
Two bat, two man. Or two man, two bat.
The sequel we all deserve.
Yeah. But eventually, though, they do have a bit of teamwork comes together. And the Turtles manage to fell Batman and inject him with the anti-ooze or retro mutagen.
I love the way as well. They made very clear earlier on, like, oh, it'll work perfectly. It'll turn anyone back as long as it's within this time frame. It's like, so you know, like, oh, Batman's turned into this. It's fine.
Yeah.
But no effects. It's all right. Oh, and Batgirl smashes Joker's snake teeth out.
Oh, yeah.
That's horrific.
I think this around the time, there was a lot of controversy with one of the covers of the Batgirl comic, where they had, because classically in, in classic Batman lore, the Joker paralyzes Barbara Gordon in The Killer Joke, shoots her through the spine, and, does very nasty things in that book. And then they had, the Batgirl comic was sort of this revered, it's like, oh, this is great, empowering book for young women, this character of Batgirl. And then they had a front cover where the Joker was in it, and I think he was standing behind Batgirl and she looked terrified, and he was in his Killing Joke kind of outfit, like the Hawaiian shirt and the hat and stuff, and he was holding her face up into a smile and saying smile, like the cover of the Killing Joke. And people were like, this is very insulting to Barbara Gordon and whatnot. And it was a big controversy at the time. So when she then takes her selfie with the Joker snake and says, smile, I'm thinking that's like a little knockback to that. But like, well, people didn't like us doing that, or the DC Comics doing that. This is us getting back at them by Barbara Gordon doing it to him.
There's so much great moments of fan service in this movie. Like just these little calls, these little bits.
It's made with such reverence. It's just like, this is fantastic. Like they did such a great... Like so that's the thing then, because I know the guy who did write it, Marley Halpern Grasser. He actually wrote Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. Came out last year, which is pretty good. Worked for Batman Unlimited for a while. But he also did that Thundercats Roar cartoon that came out recently, which people really hated because it was just like, it's a really silly version of Thundercats. So it was like, it had no reverence for the source material. It was making fun of it the whole time. So it's kind of, I guess the guy flips both ways, where he's like, this thing is so, really clearly loves the source material it's working with. And I guess, well, the thing is, Thundercats Roar, you might well have loved Thundercats as well, but it's like, we're making fun of it because it's human cat people. You see that Cats movie that came out? Jesus Christ, of course there's something to make fun of here.
Oh my God, yes, mix the two.
I think Cats has put paid to any Thundercats movies coming out for quite some time.
Yeah.
I want McCavity to turn up in a Thundercats cartoon, at least.
Only if there's a butthole cut of the Thundercats.
Yes!
Butthole cut of Thundercats.
Yes!
It's like, that's how they defeat Mumra, just turn their backs to him. He's like, Jesus! I won't put it out there, though. Idris Elba would be a good Panthro. So they actually that would work for me.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a real product, but I've seen pictures of these little things you put on a cat's tail that like cover up their butthole.
Oh,
So it's like not offensive to people. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, if you get a cat, you just have to accept, right? I'm going to see a lot of butthole.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I'm gonna.
Yeah. Same thing if you have a dog. Like you're gonna see everything.
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah,
it's
and
just
it might not
part
be
of it.
pleasant.
Yeah.
But yeah, you take it on.
But I guess we better press on just because we'll be here for like 5 hours.
Sorry, I got us here, guys.
It's longer than the movie already.
Well, they have a thing where, of course, Batman brings it back. As I said, he's much more of an asshole in this comic, so he's just completely dismissive of the Turtles, blames them for him being turned into a bat, basically. It's like, well, if I didn't have to help them out, that would never happen. And then eventually, it's actually Raphael who steps up and says, like, look, working as a team is better than working alone. And Batman concedes. He's like, yeah, actually, you're right. Like, let's work together. And because again, you have to do one of those things. Like, it's just such a trope in movies. Like, I remember watching that first movie of It when it came out, and you read the book of It. At no point do the losers ever fall out, but because of the movie, like at some point, all these characters have to not be friends for a bit so they can get back together for the end.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, for Christ's sake, just have them be friends the whole time. Like, no, they gotta have a fight, and then they have a mope around for a montage, and then they get back together. But it's the same thing here. So we have a not just a friend, a partner handshake kind of scene coming into play.
Oh, and you've got Mikey freaking out that Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same person.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's like, well, we're underneath Wayne Manor.
Yeah. And yeah, I do love so there's a big assault on Ace Chemical where Rish or Raz and Shredhead have gone. And a fantastic scene then, of course, where Mikey's in the Batmobile, and they do everything with that you're going to expect them to. Batman doesn't want him touching anything. And then I do love the little nod where he's just like, Mikey, touch all the buttons.
I was reminded of when I was a little kid and my dad had a BMW, and I was only allowed to sit in the front seat in my dad's car, not in my mom's car. But he would say, don't touch anything. Don't touch the buttons. Don't touch the window. Just sit there.
Yeah.
That's even more tempting, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't thinking about it until now.
And in the one car, he had a phone. He had a car phone for a while. And I wasn't allowed to touch that either because it was too expensive. But I'm like, why do you have this? I can't use it.
Like when we got our first mobile phone, I think it was like, don't ever touch that thing.
Yeah.
It's only for emergencies because it's, like 500 times the price of the normal phone.
Yeah.
Right.
That was actually a thing, weirdly enough, in talking about Sister earlier. Because on Friday night, when it was me and my housemate, and we were just sitting around at like 1 a.m, and we're just like, oh, what do you want to put on? I don't care. And Sister came up in the recommends on Netflix, so we're like, let's go for this. And we ended up having a dispute. One was dispute is Ray supposed to be rich in it? Because he was like, look at his house. His house is huge.
Yeah.
It's
like,
fancy, yeah.
but I was like, I think it's just 90s sitcom. Where it's like, even 80s sitcoms. Like, yeah, everyone just had big houses. Like, if you were like, you could be, like, Al Bundy was a shoe salesman.
Yeah, he had that house and a family.
Yeah, had a friggin', he could, on a shoe salesman's pay, he successfully raised a family without any complaints I'm sure they did complain, they probably had no money in that job, but it didn't look like they didn't have any money. But, and then the other thing was that all the chairs and stuff were wrapped up in cellophane.
Yeah.
And my housemate was like, why is that? And I was like, that's a thing. I've seen that in other sitcoms where it's like, you don't want to spoil the fancy chairs. So you have them, you keep them in the plastic cover the whole time.
I don't think people do that anymore.
No, they do.
No,
There's an episode of How To with John Wilson where he talks about covering furniture. There's a whole industry of covering furniture.
Gross.
Oh my
I know my
God.
grandmother did it, and I never understood why.
I'm getting one that's made of like a material for one of my sofas because the cat has scratched the crap out of it.
That's one thing, like putting a cloth cover, but like
Yeah.
my grandmother had plastic on the furniture
Oh, it's so weird. It's so weird.
to keep her like $100 sofa nice.
We had this couch at my house that I lived in college that was just filthy. Like it was light blue at one point, but it was just gray. And I had the idea of getting white like lace doilies and putting it on it and then covering it in plastic to just preserve how filthy it looks.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
It's like before it falls apart, before it literally turns to dust. Let's try to preserve how horrible this thing is.
Didn't you find like raw meat in that sofa one time?
Yeah, the one time I came down after a party and there was like, it was still in the butcher cellophane, just a T-bone steak between the two couch cushions.
Oh my
Nice.
God.
I mean, if you can verify that definitely was only from the night before, that's like, hey, that's dinner. You got yourself a nice T-bone steak.
Yeah, but there's no verifying that. You
Yeah.
know?
Hey, you smell
I've
it.
been there for months.
Give it a whiff.
Yeah, give it a whiff. If
That's
it
what
looks-
you do. It's the old sniff test, isn't it? It's like, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, it smells okay.
But yeah, and then there's a terrific scene then when Mikey does press all the buttons, and I love Damian Wayne's reaction of like seeing all the stuff going up in the sky and being like, I've always wanted to push all the buttons.
Oh. Hey, we don't just get the Batmobile. We get a certain other vehicle making. An appearance.
Of course.
I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming at some point.
The Turtle Van out in full
Yeah.
force.
The party
I used to
wagon.
have the toy of that when I was a kid, and I loved it because it would fire those discs. You know, like.
I do love as well, like, was it Robin or Batgirl? Just like, are you guys drive around in this thing? And then like just Leo's look of like, okay, and just like flicks a switch until it turns into ultra cool Turtles Van.
Yeah, it puts on sunglasses for some reason.
Yeah.
Because it's awesome. That's how you show that a character or something is cool. You put shades on.
But everyone then goes in for their big final fights. We get Ra's al Ghul goes to take off his cloak, takes off his entire shirt in one fell swoop, and that's how you got that practice down. I'm like, okay, I'm taking off my cloak, but I'm also taking off everything above the waist.
Yeah,
He's
you
done it in
gotta
the
have a
mirror.
shirtless Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Maybe his shirt had snaps up the back, so it was real easy to take off.
There was a joke in
Oh.
Kyle Baker's Plastic Man at one point because he fights Ra's al Ghul, and the whole internal monologue of Plastic Man is him talking about how cool it is that he gets to fight a shirtless Ra's al Ghul.
That's got Deadpool energy. That's like
Yeah.
something he would come out with.
It also could be that when the League of Shadows ain't doing so good, Raz might have a job as a stripper. He's just
Hey.
got like, breakaway clothes. Like, there you go.
He's definitely employing stripper technology. Though.
Maybe that's how like the League of Shadows, like that stripper technique came into being. Ra's al Ghul is so old. He's like, yeah, there was a period during like the 70s I wasn't doing so well.
Maybe he invented snap clothing technology, like
Yes.
those snap off track pants. You know, that's like what
Like he
your
lost
shirt-
all his money in the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And then he made it back by inventing snap away clothing for strippers. And then he's just like, look, Ra's al Ghul, use this myself. And he just rips off everything on top. Goes into business meetings to pitch it by just ripping off his whole suit. And they're like, oh my God.
And he's just standing there in like underwear.
He's on Shark Tank.
Oh my god! And well, then Ra's al Ghul does something else that's really grisly. I think he basically breaks Donatello's arm.
Yeah.
Like that thing looks snapped. That's not normal, is it? That's not just sort of sprained or something. He's broken that arm. Leonardo's seeing that nightmarish vision come to life.
Donnie and Mikey then try to thwart the cloud burst of the Cloud Seeder. Has a great line of just like, oh, I'm trying to, it's turned on. And Mikey pushing a bunch of buttons and like, I think he managed to turn it on even more.
Love that.
And Leo's with Ra's al Ghul. Where's Raph? Who is he fighting again? He's around there somewhere.
Yeah, I've made a note of that actually. Who is it who fells our villain with the very interesting maneuver?
Well, Raph does show up to help Batman versus Shredder at the end. He appears out of nowhere, but I keep thinking he had his own fight going on, but maybe he didn't.
I'm alluding to someone. Someone basically kicks Ra's al Ghul in the balls. Who is it who does that? It's Leo or Mikey, right? It's not. Is it Raph? No, it's not Raph.
I think it was Leo. Because Ra's al Ghul was like, I've been around for like several hundred years, blah, blah, blah. And then Leo kicks him in the nuts and he's like, yeah, well, I'm 16.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And that's when he does the technique, right? The ninja fight.
yeah, he gives him
Yeah.
the touch of death.
Yeah.
Gets him because you can kill that character. That's fine. He'll come back. It's all right.
Yeah. And we do also get a nice little throwback with Beyond the Touch of Death and the meow. Donnie and Michelangelo, when they blow up the Cloud Seeder, falling from the sky, and then they go into their turtle shells and land on a blimp. And it's like, blimps, that's what they're for.
Yeah, I love the blimp bit.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's great.
And then we get the Shredder versus Batman again, the great rematch. Raph helps out. And then they all kind of step in to lend a helping hand. But eventually, Shredder's knocked into one of the vats of Ace chemicals. And I guess that's the end of him. We're never going to see that guy again. So, and once again, the Dave is saved. Thanks to the Powerpuff. No, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and then they have a pizza party.
Yeah, and this time even Batman joins in.
Oh, and Mikey gifts his skateboard to Alfred.
And Batgirl and Donnie exchange screen names.
Oh, yeah. See, they're hitting it off. It's setting up like a little thing.
I would have loved like a smash cut to Alfred just thrashing on that board.
Turns out he's a master.
Yeah.
Well, you never know. Apparently he was a military man back in the day. Who knows what other secrets Alfred's got up his sleeve.
I trained Tony Hawk himself.
I was in the 1st Bones Brigade.
Should say there's nice little geeky references too in Donnie and Barb's screen names, because she's Oracle, obviously in reference to the character of Oracle. And then his name is Bow Staffs are cool.
They are cool.
But I think that's also like, Donnie obviously has a bow staff, but one of the catchphrases from Doctor Who was the whole bow ties are cool thing. So Donnie's the type of guy who'd watch Doctor Who. It makes sense to me that, that's a little reference that he's doing in his name.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I would have thought it would have been Does Machines.
Actually, I think they do a reference to Does Machines earlier, but
Well, Michelangelo says it, doesn't he? He's like, you do machines, I'm the party dude, or something.
Yeah. But basically Batman concedes to Damian having a slice of pizza, has one himself. And that's the end of the movie. Then we have a really terrific end credit sequence where they do a load of retro comic covers, but the Turtles are now fused with Batman's universe. So, and every one of those is just like, I would have just every one of them framed. Like if I had a wall to spare, I could just put all those pictures up on.
I could do an episode for each one as well, talking about it for an hour.
Yeah.
I would argue this movie could be done as a movies by minutes, and those end credits would be like the most detailed minutes, because you'd have to talk about every one of those covers.
We practically just did this as a movies by minute.
We contemplated it, actually. Niall sent me a message after watching it, like, maybe we should hold off on this recording and just do it as the next season after Batman and Robin.
We thought I could have done this as a whole season, but But of course, then that's the end of the movie. Or is it?
Dun, dun, dun.
In classic Marvel movie style, we have a reveal that amongst the wreckage of Ace Chemicals, Shredder has now, because he fell into the same vat of chemicals as the Joker would have fallen into, we now have... actually, I think it's a direct reference to 89. His hand comes up first, and you see he's got the green fingernails that we talked about in that season. They're like, does the Joker always have green fingernails? Is that because fingernails are made out of hair particles? So it's like...
That'll be why.
That's his fingernails will turn green as well as his hair.
And also, isn't it one of the Turtles movies? Doesn't he do that at the end, Shredder?
Oh, well, the start of Secret of the Ooze as well, yeah. His hand comes up from the trash, yeah, of course.
And in the end, when he becomes Super Shredder and his hand pops up out of the...
That's it. That's what I'm thinking of. The Super Shredder one, yeah.
Shredder's like, I did hands first, okay. Oh, no, 89. So I guess the Joker did do it first, so... But we talked about it briefly off mic, and this is a thing, actually, it still continues on in the comics. And it was even when they kind of retconned what Harley Quinn's origin was. That like, oh yeah, she's now got the white skin too. This apparently, whatever chemical this is, and we looked into it in the 89 season, we couldn't work out exactly what the Joker chemical... I think it was a various runoff waste of different chemicals in one vat. But whatever it is, Ace Chemicals knows this made the Joker. They keep making it. It's still there in the building.
And they don't put lids on it.
Yeah.
Don't put lids on it, and safety precautions damned all to hell. And the thing is, I always got the vibe from the Joker is that, that particular guy going in there, with the mental state he had on that day, that creates the supervillain. Like, he would have been, like, it's just the skin bleaching, is the last straw for him. That's what makes him into, like, that's the thing, the straw that breaks the camel's back, basically.
Definitely. Yeah.
But this is the way Joker Shredder comes out and starts cackling. It's like, anybody goes into those chemicals, they become a Joker.
Yeah, he is now a Joker. Yeah,
it's just like clown sauce at that point.
Clown sauce.
Basically, yeah. It's just like, that's kind of stupid to me. I don't like that. I think that's a thing the comics need to stop. Like,
yeah, or at the very least, like, don't maybe it messes him up and makes him deranged or something, but not literally he is now a Joker.
Yeah.
Like, do something else to him, maybe.
I mean, they did do the Three Jokers recently, which is actually a pretty good series. And that does something similar, but I'll forgive that because it does good work elsewhere. But it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't Bruce Wayne himself would be campaigning, you need to shut down this chemical plant? Or at least freaking put a lid on the... But even then, if people knew it made Jokers, people would be breaking in all the time, trying to steal it to make their own Jokers and stuff. Like, it'd be... it's insane that this is a thing. But anyway, Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's great. Currently at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'd say fair play.
Yeah, go watch it, everybody. Batman says cowabunga. Come on. What more do you want?
Yes, they do. We did mention that. At the end, he does do... It's pretty much like an echo of I have always been fond of cowabunga.
Well, I'm glad that everybody enjoyed it, because usually there's one person on these episodes who hates it, and that's funny, but it's nice, a nice change where everybody was on board.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, don't worry, we will have Neil Brown on an episode soon.
Neil hates everything.
But it does pretty much everything you'd want it to do. The only thing it doesn't contain is there's no Splinter, and no April O'Neil, actually.
I was upset that neither of them. I thought they were going to come in at the end.
Oh, even though it's Casey Jones isn't in it either. So, yeah. Actually, I guess they're in Gotham, so they're serving the Batman side of it more. But I'm still, I know again. Actually, we're enough talking about Seth Rogen doing Darkwing Duck and his, I am the terror that tokes in the night. I guess Seth Rogen doing the Turtles again. So the current Turtle reboot is going to be done by the same guy who does Darkwing Duck. And one thing I always want to see, speaking of like trying to cast April O'Neil, or just having April O'Neil in a movie, is like, to me, the perfect April O'Neil is Alison Brie. And I'm just waiting for it to happen. Yeah. So now I know she's like, you're probably going to cast someone in their early 20s, Seth, or whoever makes that movie. But I urge you to consider going in that direction, please. And just ignore the Megan Foxes of the world.
Yeah. I have a better appreciation for Megan Fox now, but she was just too hot to be April.
Yeah. No, I agree. It doesn't work for the character, really.
Yeah, no.
And they leaned into that too much.
Yeah, Michael Bay has over-sexualized her since Transformers.
You'd think after that first Transformers, she would have watched it back and been like, this is uncomfortable. I don't know if I like this. Yeah. I think she probably did think that, but was like, well, it keeps me in the public eye and it gets me money.
I forget what music video it was, but she was 15 and wearing a bikini under a waterfall, and no one was like, she's 15.
Yeah.
There should have been a lot of people saying that.
I don't know. You guys are covering Turtles in Time, right? Would you ever consider going into the Platinum Dunes Turtles movies, or is that just no?
Well,
dear God, no.
we are starting to kind of prep for Turtles 3, but it's hard to really say what the fate of TMNT Minute is after that. I think we're kind of gonna try to start straying away from the movies by minute format. Yeah. And we all have other things we've been dying to do. I've been spearheading this comics podcast, Tales from the Short Box, which has been taking up a lot of time because it's weekly. So I think we're gonna kind of, after season 3, kind of do some different stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Samurai Pizza Cats Minute.
There you go.
Yeah. There's also another kind of more exciting project that we have coming up that we can't really talk about yet, but do stay tuned.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice.
I am still excited, though. When I was a kid, I loved the third Turtles. I know it's crap. I know it is. But when I was kids are stupid. I thought it was great. It's like, they're in Japan. It's amazing. But check that out, everybody. Go listen to it. You've probably heard the show, listeners. But if not, go listen to it. Go find it. It's everywhere. You can just put TMNT minutes in to everything and it'll come up, basically, won't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And come and find us everywhere, which I'm sure you already know all our nonsense. We're Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that crap. Just put Bat Minute. But most importantly, Patreon. Come to that. For next to nothing, you can get loads of wonderful extra bonus episodes. What was our most recent one as of this, Niall? What was it? It was
Wise Guys.
Wise Guys.
Yeah, Wise Guys.
That was a good movie as well. We've had a good run of films here.
Yeah. Although I think this was definitely better than Wise Guys, though.
It was, but I loved Wise Guys.
I'm trying to compare this movie to a food combination that you don't think is going to work, but does, and I can't quite come up with that food combo.
It'd be like putting like pineapple on pizza
No,
or something.
no.
That's something that works really, really well, but you don't think it's going to.
No.
Hear me out, Niall, and then you slap some ham on it.
Hey, perfect.
Hey.
I don't think we need to argue that point at all. I think that's the perfect analogy.
I do want to thank you guys for hosting us, because this is definitely a Batman movie with turtles in it.
Yeah.
So I think it's apropos that you guys kind of took the helm on this. So thank you for having us.
Oh, no.
Well, thank you for joining us. But let me just say, that might be the case, but I think the turtles are the best bit of the movie.
And let's
Don't
hope
let anyone
there's
know.
a sequel that has more turtley and Batman goodness.
The sequel's got to be in New York, right?
Yeah, you'd think.
That's what they did with the comics, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So we will depart. We will head off into the dark, dark night. So do check out all the social medias and all that nonsense. We won't go through all that again. And join us next time for more wonderful, exciting hiatus episodes of Bat Minute.
I thought you forgot
Jesus.
the name of the show for a second.